9/11. Park the Porsche right there on Linus. They say we disrespected. They love when we step in. 100 bottles on the church. 100 bottles on the check-in. 100 bottles. You know, 100 bottles. Presence is a blessing, so don't disrespect it. I'm told when semi-automatic web speeding at 9/11. Park the Porsche right there on Linus. They say we disrespected. They
100 bottles on the check-in, man. We got 100 bottles on the check-in. It's 100 bottles on the check-in.
Mommy on my body, think my drippin' is pressing her. They tryna invest in us, cause they know we not them regulars. Wanna raise in the trap, robbing niggas from packs. They ain't wanna smoke cause they know we be scrap. I put that on my soul, they don't cap in my rap. That broke had to pray for a stack. And I put that on my soul, ain't no cap in my rap. Me being dead broke, had to pray for a stack. Before I had my own spot, I turned my school into the trap. Ain't talking custodians, I had the keys up in the back. Smoking, jumping for a game, I throw an alley till my niggas smack. Wasn't worried about those lanes, all had my back. Never walking past the ops, 100 biggies on they back. BB Simons was popping, Gucci belt with the robbers. My cousin pals, niggas L's, when I block it the flocking. Screaming we outside, nah, we steady mobbing. I'm from uptown, let's get it poppin'. Home of the bowlers and robbers, scammers and plotters. When it comes to that money, baby, you know I'm about it. And it's still fuck the ops, niggas know how I'm rockin'. M1, I said M1.
This live gonna be starting real soon, man. I was waiting for a couple more people to show up. This is the first live that we're gonna be doing on this channel. So I want to appreciate everybody that's planning on tuning in. We going up, man. A lot of information in this one today, y'all. I'm gonna give y'all some fire today. And we could bank on that one. You know, all we hear about now is the 5 civilized tribes. 5 civilized tribes. Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, Seminole, Muskogee. 5 civilized tribes. But there was a lot of tribes that existed on this land prior to that. And if you guys been tuned in, we did a whole breakdown of the tribes alone that existed in the Mississippi area by itself. That one was a banger. But the one I got for y'all today, we're going to talk about the YAMASEE Nation, aka the Seminole Nation. We know them as the YAMASEE though. So, yeah, just tune in, man. I want more people to show up. You know, drop a comment in the chat if you're really rocking with the Copper Colored King, breaking the black barrier, morals and money. And continue to enjoy the music, man. We're going to get this started in a little while. Let's get into it, man.
On the baller, so she think I'm a spoiler, cause I'm a nigga with aura. Nigga with aura. Nigga with aura. Nigga with aura. She know A1 the baller, cause I'm a nigga with aura. Nigga with aura. Nigga with aura. She think they're not a spoiler, cause I'm a nigga with aura. I know they want a dread, but they can't afford it. All white and fours, cause I hate wearing enforcers. Ace of spade out the bottle, now I'm saucy. Foreign girls, I don't bag them, I import them. Flew her to the A, now she wet like Florida. In my yay like D-Wade, cause I'm a leading scorer. Whoa, She wanna fuck me and I'm gonna love her. I'm a young twist shawty, you know you can never. I'm an Xbox trying to change the weather. Your diamonds too gazy, you know you ain't clever. I'm a overboy forever, rockin' diesel leather. Okay. All about my chatter like my name is Mayweather. Balenciaga wearer, I'm a real big stepper. This that drip, this that water, this that aura for your daughter. Hit her once and never call her. She know I wanna baller, so she think I'm a spoiler. Nigga with aura, nigga with aura. King of Harlem, I get busy, do my dance like I'm Diddy. Ain't nobody fucking with me, Rockstar, villain, dot on his head, krillin'. Fuck all that talking, let's get it. You talking about money, I'm in it. I'm in it, I'm in it. I know they hating, I feel it. Went from robbing to stealing, now with stars in the ceiling. Oh man. That's a fucking feeling. It's a vibe.
We are now tuned in, breaking the black barrier. It's your boy King Willow, the Copper Color King. Copper Color Productions, man. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. This is another Morals and Money banger, man. Another Morals and Money banger. And for this part of the Breaking the Black Barrier segment, I wanted to introduce it this way because I did a lot of in-depth research regarding the tribes within this area. And there's so much that I done came up with. I mean, now we know that the indigenous folks of that land were of a copper color skin complexion, dark brown skin complexion, a brown skin complexion. We done seen it in the articles, in the archives, in the facts, in the documents. We done seen it. And here today, I want to introduce a part of the segment that I like to talk about, or that I like to refer to as the destruction of the YAMASEE Nation, and to include a little bit of extra information. We're going to talk about the black slave owners of South Carolina. The black slave owners of the South. You see, we didn't learn that in school. We did not learn that in school. And I promise y'all, this information here about to blow your mind. Because who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought that people who look like us, black folks, brown folks, were responsible for the enslavement of the so-called Africans that existed, that came over here in slave ships in 1492 with Christopher Columbus, so to say. I just want you guys to take a look at this picture real quick right here. This picture right here is like a little depiction of what the war in 1750, the YAMASEE War, looked like. And if you look real close, this is a colorized photo. If you look real close, what we got? Some pale skin colonists fighting against who? Who? What that look like? That look like some dark skinned Indians to me. Some copper colored toned Indians. And this war was extremely important because this war was the reason why a lot of tribes broke up, names changed, people were absorbed into different tribes. This is where we see the peak of the Cherokee, the mixed tribes coming out. A lot of stuff happened. You would really have to do your own research to figure it out. But I'll give you guys a breakdown on what the YAMASEE War consisted of real quick, right before we go fully into it. The YAMASEE War was a conflict fought in South Carolina from 1715 to 1717 between British settlers from the province of Carolina and the YAMASEE, who were supported by a number of allied Native American peoples, including the Muskogee, Cherokee, Catawba, Appalachia, the Yuchi, Savannah River Shawnee, the Congregee, the Waha, PD, Cape Fear, and the Cherokee Indians, and some others. Native Americans killed hundreds of colonists, and let me not say Native Americans. Aboriginals killed hundreds of colonists and destroyed many settlements, and they killed traders throughout the southeast region. Colonists abandoned the frontiers and fled to Charlestown, where starvation set in as supplies ran low. The survival of the South Carolina colony was in question during 1715. The tide turned early in 1716 when the Cherokees sided with the colonists against the Creek, their traditional enemy. The last Native American fighters withdrew from the conflict in 1717, bringing a fragile peace to the colony. The YAMASEE War was one of the most destructive and transformational conflicts in colonial America. Did y'all hear that? One of the most destructive and transformational conflicts of colonial America. Now, that's why I mentioned the video that we dropped previously. The one about the different tribes of the Mississippi area, the Muskogee, all the different type of Muskogee tribes that existed. When we talk about Choctaw and Creek and all of that, you got to be specific now. We got Upper Creeks, different bands of Creeks, mad different people. So when you thinking about this war in a nutshell, and then you looking at a picture like this, you got to think about it. You just got to think about it. Well, if this is how they were depicting those people to look around this time, then who were the Negroes? Who were the black slaves that were enslaved after this? After independence, 1776. Before that, who was the black people that were being pillaged and enslaved and so-called brought over here on slave ships? So-called. South Carolina was one of them colonies where they were harboring in Africans. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but we saw the numbers. If you've been tuned in to Breaking the Black Barrier, we went over the numbers. We looked at the census. We did the breakdown. We checked out the facts. And then we got the books. You know, the ones that talk about these people being dark brown, close to brown, of the same skin complexion as the people of Ethiopia. And you know, this is even more dope because in the process of me doing my research, the same way I found out about Chief Warhorse, I found out about Chief Sekou Gentle of the YAMASEE Indian tribe. And this brother been putting on for his people for some time now. Not even going to sit here and lie. He been putting on for his people for some time. Let's take a look at this good brother. I got the photo for y'all right here. And you know, I want more people to tune into this one, man, because this one is going to be a banger. I'm telling y'all, this one is going to be a banger. We talk about breaking the black barrier. We really breaking the black barrier with this one. Check out Chief Sekou Gentle, Hajo of the YAMASEE Indian tribe. That's the brother right here with the paint on his face. Copper colored Indian, copper colored man. I mean, he's almost darker than me. You know, I'm probably a shade lighter. He's almost darker than me. So what would you consider this man to be? If the indigenous people of the Americas weren't black, but they got skin colors like that, then what would you consider this man right here to be? I want y'all to let me know in the chat, man. Let me know in the comments below, what would y'all consider this man right here to be? If you ask me, you know, remove all of the tribal representations, and he looks just like a black man. Just like these two brothers right here of the YAMASEE Nation, but representing a tribe also beautifully. Just like these two brothers right here. And I want to go a little bit more into Chief Sekou Gentle, because he actually, you know, he's been like active, you know. He's been active. I don't know if you guys tune in or even are familiar with who Chief Sekou Gentle is, but he's been active. He be active, you know, at Congress meetings, speaking up for his tribe, speaking up for his people, you know, going over so many different things, speaking on the history of his tribe. Pretty cool dude. And in the process of me watching these videos and me learning about him as an individual, or what he represents as a YAMASEE chief individual, he represents copper colored people. People who look like me and cuz. Black people who have indigenous ancestry. So why would this man go out his way and waste all his time just to go over all of that? You know, just to do all of that, to represent history that quote unquote doesn't belong to us, quote unquote. Allegedly people be in the TikTok comments wilding, like basically trying to say that I'm trying to like be in the same spot as the white man. I don't even know where you would even get that from. I wouldn't even be able to understand it. But my brother, if you knew the truth, my brothers out there on TikTok, if you knew the truth, it'll blow your mind. I'm learning the truth myself. And after doing the research in my own family and then just doing this research for some time now, it ain't nothing nobody else could tell me. I'm going to keep pushing this message and keep trying to unite my people that come from this indigenous background here in America, because that's what's going to bring us together. Talk about black on black violence? Nah, fuck all that. That's out the window. We are indigenous people of America. Some of us have ancestry coming from Africa. Some of us have ancestry coming from Europe. Swarthy Europeans. But we need to stick together. No matter what, let's go back to the tribal ways, man. So I want to show y'all this clip by the YAMASEE chief, Chief Sekou, and I just want y'all to listen to what he's saying. You know, give a good ear to it. Check it out. Very informative, very very informative, because he finna blow something out the water. So I just want y'all to check it out. Turn your volume all the way up, and like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in, man. This is our first live, our very first live stream. I want to run the numbers up on this one, even after the video drops. Let's run these numbers up. My copper colored community, I love you guys. For the people that have been tuning in, for my family from the Bronx that have been tuning in, I see y'all. I want to let y'all know the love is much appreciated, and let's get into it, man. Hopefully we can get a podcast going together one day. Now let's check this out, man. This is Chief Sekou speak on the history of his people.
Strongest.
Check my brother out. bear cloth. He's looking real tribal, not like them Hollywood Native Americans you guys see. Real tribal. It's extremely low, y'all, but he's speaking in the language of his people.
You prefer English?
Yes, please.
I can speak English.
He's gonna speak English now.
My name is Chief Sekou Ajo of the YAMASEE Indian tribe. Funny thing about people that call themselves your friends, sometimes they talk out of two sides of their faces. The British people claimed they were our people's friend. We helped them colonize this world. My people helped them find food.
We helped them colonize this world.
How to find fresh water, and even help them build their homes. In return, they captured our women and our children and put them into slavery because of our skin tone.
You heard what he said, right? This is what he said. Let me break this down for y'all real quick. This is what he said. He said that sometimes people who you think are your friends are not really your friends. He said when the colonizers, the British, came over here, we helped them hunt, search for water, food, and supplies. And in return, they enslaved them because of the color of their skin. Where is he getting this history from? Let alone, let's dodge that Hollywood Native American hijack. This is what these brothers look like. Go back and look at it. He's so tribal right now. So tribal. I need to get me some gears. I'm not even going to front. Start stepping outside like that. But that's what he said. They enslaved us because of the color of our skin. Because of the color of our skin. Mulatto, Negro, tawny, copper colored, brown, dark skin. The color of his skin. Let's finish listening.
People looked like the African people that they was capturing and putting into slavery.
They looked like the African people they was catching.
We understood what slavery was, but we had a different form of it. Because we don't see people as something you can own. The Creator said that all of us are free. When we're born free. I mean,
He said that they used to enslave them because they reminded them of some of the African captives that they were capturing overseas. And then he proceeded to say that, let's run this back because I done lost my mind. This is crazy.
when we're born free. I mean, we have the right to choose.
They were born free and that they have the right to choose. The Most High gave them the freedom to choose and do what they want. They did not enslave people. They knew what slavery was, but they did not enslave people the way most people thought they did. That's another gem right there. Because you hear a lot now of them speaking and saying, oh, how Indians used to enslave Indians and Indians had African slaves and whatever the case may be, just using that term slave. And because we don't know no other form of slavery other than the form of slavery that was taught to us and that we know to off the rip or to the eye or to knowledge or whatever the case may be, that's the history that we connected to. But who knows? They probably could have had a different type of form of slavery or however they had slavery. But these is gems that he's dropping right now. Let's continue to check it out.
Eat, drink what we want, do who, be who, whatever we like. We understood this. The biggest violation that the British did was they captured our women, not knowing that our tribe is run by our women. We're a matrilineal society. The reason
The biggest crime that the British committed was capturing and enslaving the women and children. Most people don't know that the YAMASEE nation thrives off its women. This is the words coming out of his mouth. And of course we know with the enslavery of women comes the mixing and the separation of the tribes, because now babies are being born with mixed blood, some light, some dark, whatever the case may be, and that separation is birthed right there. You remove the women, enslave them, impregnate them, or use them for whatever reason you're using them for. Bring on a new generation of children whose history is all over the place, and they now can no longer connect to what the YAMASEE indigenous folks were raised off of, or what they put their kids under, whatever the case may be. That's crazy, bro. This history is crazy. He's dropping gems right now.
Because we've come to understand our mothers, the ones who give us life, are the most important tool and asset that we can have. Our mothers are our first teachers.
Mothers are first teachers.
They're the ones that protect us the first. And they're the ones who run our family and tribes, because our mothers have our best interests. My people were forced to go to war to protect our women, our future.
They were forced to go to war.
Women, there is no future. The story of the African people and the YAMASEE people is not an historical account. It's a story of survival. Today we live in a world called America, where we fight for other people's freedom and oppression. It's the same thing our people went through here.
Gems.
Many people come through Fort Mosaic looking to hear the slave narrative, what the slave had to endure, what they had to go through. What they went through was the fight to be free, for their children, youth, to be free, to have the choices, the options to live the way you want. Unlike everyone else here, my mothers, I'm not a reenactor. I'm the real chief of the YAMASEE Indian tribe. We still exist, but my people have been taken out of history, written out of history.
We still exist, but my people have been taken out of history, written out of history, taken out of history. My people have been written out of history. Let's run that back.
Everyone else here, my mothers, I'm not a reenactor. I'm the real chief of the YAMASEE Indian tribe. We still exist, but my people have been taken out of history, written out of history, because of our skin tone and complexion, and because they couldn't beat us.
Bars, bro. Bars. Bars, nigga. What y'all mean, man? What y'all telling me, man? What y'all telling me, man? We cooking up. We cooking up. We are cooking up. Hold on. Gotta let the A1 play for a little while for that one. Gotta let the A1 play for a little while for that one. We are cooking up. We are cooking up, man.
I ain't your average civilian. A1, been that nigga. Come on now, y'all niggas is tripping. Gave her the D, now she up on the feelings. Gotta allow me for it, you can come get me. Hoes, got plenty. Just doing.
Listen, man. Y'all heard what he said. Bars.
When we left and went to regain those that were kidnapped that they called slaves.
Y'all need to hear that part again. Sorry.
We still exist.
We still exist.
Have been taken out of history, written
out of history.
Because of our skin tone and complexion. And
because of our skin tone and complexion.
When we left and went to regain those that were kidnapped that they called slaves, we no longer became the fiercest of warriors. We became runaways.
Yeah, I mean,
wild ones.
When those who were kidnapped and became slaves, when they ran away, they were no longer considered fierce warriors. They were considered runaways. Who else did they consider runaways? Breaking the black barrier. I can't wait to start giving y'all the content regarding the Swarthy European black ancestry and the Asian black ancestry, the black ancestry all over the world. What is black? It's a culture, but we all share the same skin complexion. So why are we so divided? Why are we so divided? We got all of these new cultures and these new ethnic groups that was recently created. Like, this is no shade. I'm not trying to throw shade on no Puerto Ricans or Dominicans or Jamaicans or Trinidadians or anything. Like, love where you come from, but you got to understand a lot of these names were recently given to us, like American, Black American, Afro American, African American. Those names were recently given to us. Recently, not too long ago. Not too long ago. I say go back 5 or 6, 7 great grandmothers. Recently, that's how recent. And like he just said, they were removed from history. Removed from history. Written out of history. Go back to Africa. Bitch, you found me here. Where I'm going. Yo, real spill. Yo, Chief Sekou is dropping gems, man. Let's let the man finish.
Slaves, they had an owner. And because we fought for freedom for our mothers, our children, our grandparents, they renamed us in the Spanish word Seminole. Seminoles.
What? Wait, what? What happened?
And because we fought for freedom for our mothers, our children, our grandparents, they renamed us in the Spanish word Seminole.
So because they fought for freedom, that YAMASEE War, 1715, we're going to get into that. But because they fought for freedom, they renamed them Seminola. Seminola. Let's Google what Seminola means. What is a Seminola? Alright. A neighborhood. They not giving us a definition of what a Seminola is. Oh, you know what? That's a question for another video. We're going to look up the definition of Seminole and where it comes from, being that he just gave us this gem.
Seminoles. So our story was lost in history. His story. My job here today is to let
Their
you
story
know
was lost in his story, not their story, his story.
my ancestors called out to you to be here. To hear their voice, to understand their plight. Because it's not a slave narrative. It was a fight for freedom. It was a fight for our mothers, our future, the women. Today, most men or children don't even see the value in our mothers and women. Our mothers and women are taken for granted, even though they give us life. Without you, there is no us. That was the true fight. That was our true plight. The ancestors brought you here to hear the story of the YAMASEE people.
Yes, they do.
Forgotten people.
And that's why we're here today.
People that when someone walks by me, they think, he can't be Indian. But I am.
You heard what he said, right? Yeah, I heard what he said, right?
The story of the YAMASEE people. The forgotten people. The people that when someone walks by me,
When someone walks by me, they say he can't be Indian.
but
But I
I am.
am.
Our people blood is on this ground that you walk on. I only ask that you listen to their stories. Listen to the narratives. Understand that blood was spilled here for the purpose of freedom. For you. So that you could be here today.
Bars.
I apologize if I don't have
Bars.
that you would like to hear. This great story of survival, because it was survival. Navigating through woods, no flashlights, no McDonald's, having to find food.
Nowadays, motherfuckers won't. Y'all won't be able to survive without y'all fast food, man. Y'all gotta put that fast food down.
Making sure our babies didn't make noise.
It's not tribal.
Mothers losing their babies because they have to snuff them, which means basically suffocate them in fear of them being put into slavery.
It's not tribal. It's not tribal. We gonna go into some more research from my boy Chief Sekou. Let's check this out.
There's nothing more powerful than you
All right, let's skip through this
making
ad.
your thing happen. Really.
Saka, Wete, Hadago, Sekou,
Chief Sekou.
Sekou.
Yes, Chief Sekou.
To be honest, that again, your whole name?
Siku holam hachu talami yamase hajo. Ani miki siku holam hachu talami yamase hajo. Miku yamase.
Boy started wilding. What you mean?
Chief Sekou of the Yamase Indian tribe. One of the very few voices that was spoken about, except for when she said our name tonight. I'm actually representative of the true landowners. See, because my people, 54 years ago, fought for everyone to be here. We were the first Coast Guards for this great state of South Carolina. We protected the colonists that came here. Not only did we do that, we fought for the Gullah people. We rescued the Gullah people.
The
That
Gullah
culture, that
Geechee.
heritage is intertwined with my people. The
What?
thing that my
What? Who? The Gullah Geechee, the Gullah people, their heritage are intertwined. It's intertwined with my people. Y'all see where he going? Y'all see this? The mixing, the natives mixing with natives. Like, y'all see? Dropping bombs. Check this out.
sister has been fighting for on behalf of all of us. I am a YAMASEE. I'm not supposed to be here right now.
Y'all see his
Because
nose?
we fought for all people, and we fought for our own survival, including the Gullah people. It's the reason why I'm here. We've stopped becoming known as YAMASEE. We became known as Seminole, runaways. We ran from slave plantations trying to free our...
So Seminole means runaway. They stopped being called the YAMASEE people and started to be called Seminole, as in runaway. So the Seminole name comes from the term runaway. Who are these runaway slaves? Africans? He's not an African. He's a YAMASEE. And I'm sorry, I ain't spelling name right in the caption or in the thumbnail. I apologize. I don't mean to disrespect none of my brothers and sisters. But listen, if you got family from South Carolina or the Carolinas in general, check with your elders, bro. Ask these questions. I wish I could talk to my great grandpa right now. I wish, because on his census record, he's labeled as colored, and I'm hearing that he was brown skinned. So it could be one of the two things. He could be mixed with one of the two things. Know what I mean? Swarthy European, Aboriginal. He gives the features of an Aboriginal. He's giving you guys the history of the YAMASEE people and where the term Seminole comes from. So when they tell you that these Seminoles were Afro-Seminoles and Africans, yeah, they could have mixed in. That's true. But hey, that whole name was taken from the term YAMASEE, which is an Aboriginal tribe of the Americas. So if the YAMASEEs are Seminoles and then you got Afro-Seminoles who are also brown, then who are these Seminoles? Who is these YAMASEEs? Which one is it? You tell me, man, what the man look like. He giving y'all the history, the facts. We gonna get into it. Bitch, nigga, we got action. We got a lot of action for y'all. This is gonna be a long one.
Free the Gullah people. That corridor is our corridor as well. This heritage is our heritage as well. And we've been forgotten. My sister's been fighting this battle, and the Gullah people have been fighting this battle for a long time. But I got a call that said we need your people here to let the people know that this land originally is my people's land. And we've let people live here. We have not said anything. We've kept quiet because we understand that people, you, have the right to be where your ancestors also fought and died. I'm asking you to preserve what heritage and history is left of my people. Those archaeological finds are my people. That's our heritage. My children are here with me, and I bring them with me because they need to witness history and understand what we've been fighting for, what their ancestors fought for. I applaud everyone that has been here tonight, standing up for what is right, not even understanding that indigenous people were standing here listening to you all, appreciating your voices, thanking you, because your ancestors are speaking as well. But I want to say to you, this place, Beaufort County, was founded in 1769. 54 years prior to that, my people were fighting a war. It's called the YAMASEE War of 1715.
And we're going to get
and
into
before
that.
We fought that war. We fought the French war for the British. We fought against the Spaniards.
Bars.
We fought the great fight for anyone we believed in.
And the Spaniards, they came here first. See, and this why I got this little thumbnail right here, right? The history of Hernandez Soto and Florida. The record of the events of 56 years from 1512 to 1568. They are referring to the Carolinas and the Florida. And if y'all check out our older videos, we went through this one or whatever the case may be. This book has so much sauce on the Aboriginal tribes of this area. You guys would not believe it. Y'all wouldn't believe it. Some of the things I've seen Some of the things that I've read have blown my mind. And I'm going to offer these readings to you guys in our membership that we're going to have coming real soon. Complete read through. We're going to read it together for those who are interested. You just join the Breaking Black community, the copper color community that we have here at Morals and Money. And you guys will be up to date on everything. Everything that I'm reading, that I'm seeing, you're going to see as well with your own two eyes. So if you're someone who's not a believer and you want to see the facts, I got it for you. I got sauce. But let's continue.
This is something for us to fight again. I had to stop my people from coming in here at 1,000 for our voices to be heard. I said, my voice is enough. I'll speak on behalf of my people and the Gullah people that we stand with. So I ask you, when you make a decision, make that decision and think about the history that has been forgotten, the history that we are trying to preserve, and the people who died for all of us to enjoy this great land we call St. Helena Island today. I thank you. Sean District.
Don't you forget it. Don't you forget it. The history. The things that these people have been through. The sacrifice. The sacrifices they had to make. Crazy, man. Let's check this out, right? Got some more fire for y'all. So this is just to introduce some more proof. Ain't no cap in this rap. Let's check this out, right? This is William Penn on the Lenape, Delaware indigenous people that he first encountered, right? Letter to the Committee of Free Society of Traders, 1683. The natives I consider in their person, language, manners, religion, and government, with my sense of their original. For their persons they are generally tall, straight, well built, and of singular proportion. They tread strong and clever, and mostly walk with a lofty chin, of complexion black by design as the gypsies in England. We're going to get into who the gypsies are too when we start dropping some of this swarthy European content. They grease themselves with bear's fat, clarified and using no defense against sun or weather. Their skins must be need to be swarthy.
Anybody could get it, like Corona, my social distance. Since we pull up with something, can you hold on and talk my shit? How you dissing and got no crib? This shit is had disgusting. YouTube look bad and busted. 10 videos with the same.
Swarthy. Swarthy. Copper colored, man. Copper colored community. Stand up, baby. We in this bag, boy. We just gonna keep learning. We just gonna keep on learning. Let's check this one out, right? What is the third race, and what are the classifications, right? The American or Indian race, found only in America, is of a deep copper color. A deep copper color. What is a deep copper color? Just another word for black. Hands up, everybody. Copper color community, man. Nah, this be fire, bro, because it's like, what can y'all tell me? Who gonna tell me what? Y'all can't tell me nothing. Shout out Cootie Mayo. Shout out the research guy. Shout out Dane Calloway. We in this bad boy, bro, for real, because we gonna keep giving these gems the sauce, that fire, that hot fire. Of course, straight black hair, high cheekbones, eyes black, sunken large faces, and robust bodies. And then we got here the African or Negro race. But ain't nothing too different about these two right here, right? They're both melanated people. Both of them. If they black like the gypsies in England, and the black people in England have quote unquote African ancestry, right? Then that doesn't that all make us black? I don't know. You tell me. How about this? I got this one for y'all. Right, we're gonna go over this one again. And this is just to give you guys a refresher on why we really got that fire. We really got action. We really turn up. And I want people to understand, we're going to continue to turn up. I'm going to continue to turn up and put on for this Breaking Black. For my people in general. Because this isn't just about people being Indian and black. You know, this is more than that. It's more than that. It's just to unite us, you know, to bring us all together. Like I said, I don't make this to separate us. This is not for no separation. This is just to prove where we come from and how we can get closer to our identities, which will help us get closer to one another. Because there's too much hate out in this world already. Too much division. So if we all knew that we all came from the same pretty much background, pretty much, you know, just probably different tribal names and stuff like that, wouldn't that be the hidden gem that bring us closer together? Like, wouldn't finding out this history be the thing that unites us? It's a pretty big community out there, man. A pretty big population of black people in America. And if these documents and facts are saying these people were black, brown, close to the skin color of Ethiopians or whatever the case may be, then wouldn't that make all of us black, right? I don't know. Right? Like I said, I got this book for y'all. The History of Hernando de Soto and Florida, the recorded events of 56 years. Right? And this is what they had to say about the indigenous people of North Carolina, South Carolina, the Floridas, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, that whole body of land. Because what most people don't know is that the Carolinas used to be all of that outside of Louisiana, the Mississippi area. It used to be all of that in Florida. That used to be all considered the Carolinas. Right? Let's check it out, though. Right. All right. So at the top, you see right here, they're referring to Carolina and Florida. Right? The following extract contains Verasani's account of the new country, which he reached on the 20th of March, 1523. At first, it appeared to be very low, but on approaching to it within a quarter of a league from the shore, we perceived by the great fires near the coast that it was inhabited. The great fires near the coast. Stuff like that. What great fires? These people was amassing great fires and stuff like that. I thought they were savages and buffoons that didn't know anything. Right? We perceived that it stretched out to the south and coasted along in the direction in search of some port in which we might come to anchor and examine into nature of the country. But for 50 leagues we could not discover none in which we could be secure. Seeing the coast still stretching to the south, we resolved to change our course and stand to the northward. And as we still had same difficulty, we drew in within the land and sent a boat on shore. Many people who were seen coming to the seaside fled at our approach, but occasionally stopped. They looked back upon us with astonishment, and at some length they were induced by various friendly signs to come to us. Induced by various friendly signs. I wonder what friendly signs like were being given for them to just, hey, pull up, you know, like slide, you know, because obviously this didn't end well. You know, we could go more into this situation, but this is why I said I want to do these readings, because I got so much chapters and facts of information right here on the side. Pages and pages and pages. Everything is bookmarked. Some stuff that you guys be like, oh, wow, I didn't know that this was happening. You know, I didn't know this was a thing. Well, it's a thing. It was a thing in the Aboriginal community back then. You know, I ain't even going front. So it was a lot. Some people say there was idol worship in Florida, according to these documents, you know. The Aboriginal people of Cuba were dark skinned. You know, they were being referred to as Moors. You know, they were talking about the herbs they used to heal. A lot of stuff. Incas converting, all of that stuff. Is a lot, man. I highly suggest that you guys subscribe to this membership when we put it out, because if you're into this information, you're going to want to go through these readings. You're going to want to do it, and it's always good to do it with somebody else, because maybe you guys may notice something that I might not notice, and I can notice stuff that you guys might not notice, and that's how we work together. Copper Color community, baby. Let's get back into it, though. These showed the greatest delight in beholding us, wondering at our dress, countenance, and complexion. Wondering at their dress, countenance, and complexion. Probably looking at them like, who these pale skin? Like, who is these pale skin buffoons? Who are they? Not saying all pale skinned people are buffoons, but like, who are these people coming to encroach on our land? Or they could have been swarthy Europeans too. We don't know. They then showed us signs where we could be more conveniently secure on our boat, and offered us some of their provisions. Of their manners and customs, I'll relate as briefly as possibly what we saw. So like what Chief Sekou just said, he said we clothed them, we fed them, helped them find water, all of that stuff. We see it documented right here in the book. We offered some provisions, manners and customs. They was, instantly they was giving them like, as much help as they possibly could. He said they go entirely naked, except that about the loins they wear skins of small animals like martins, fastened by a girdle of plaited grass, to which they tie all around the body. The tails of other animals hanging down to the knees, and all other parts of the body and head are naked. Some wear garlands similar to birds' feathers. The complexion of these people is black, not much different from that of the Ethiopians. Their hair is black and thick, and not very long. It is worn tied upon the head in the form of a little tail, a ponytail. A ponytail. What's your boy? What he look like? Hold on. What he look like? Let's just go back to it. All right, that could be a ponytail, right? Black and thick, like the Ethiopians. Like the Ethiopians, my boy. When people look at me, they say the same thing. Sorry, I just gave y'all a little bit too much just now. But when people see me, they say the same thing. Sometimes people say, I look like I'm possibly Arabic, but I'm always getting hit with the West Indian and the Spanish, whatever the case may be. But that's just because of my brown skin and my black people hair. Black people hair is no such thing as good or bad hair. We all have that same type of hair, but it just gives off that look. You feel what I'm saying? But it's as described as they're describing in the book. As described as what they're describing in this post right here. The descriptions aren't changing. Sekou, our family members, a lot of them niggas probably look the same. I know a girl from South Carolina, and she got that skin complexion. You get what I'm saying? So the proof is in the pudding, man. When we talking about these Aboriginal peoples, we got to keep in mind they were copper colored. That history is in our history, is in our blood. And we need to keep doing that research and connecting. Gotta keep connecting. The connecting can't stop. The grind don't stop. Let's move forward, man. So I got some more fire for y'all, right? And this one right here, it's tough, man. Super tough. Right? Like I said, we was going to go over the YAMASEE War. It's definitely going to go. We got to. See, I see it's a lot, but we're going to touch bases on it, right? So let me take a sip of water real quick because I'm going to be doing a lot of reading. I already know. All right. All right, let's see. All right, so this right here is basically a document that's talking about the YAMASEE War from 1715 to 1717. And like I said, as y'all can see right here, right? North Carolina, South Carolina, this big body of land right here. And then you have Florida, the Mississippi area, French settlement, as stated on the map. And then, Spanish Mexico and whatever the case may be. This is, 1717, 200 years after the first Spanish colonies was popping up in what would be south part of North America. Because, they didn't get fully into it until the 1600s. But let's check it out, right? So the 24th annual South Carolina archaeology month, October 2015. That's what this is from. So whatever. So the YAMASEE settled on the South Carolina coast in 1683 following their flight from the Spanish coastal Georgia Guale missions, the Gullah, like Sekou was talking about, the Gullah. The newly arrived YAMASEE first settled on the islands around Port Royal Sound, including St. Helena Parish and Hilton Head Islands in 1686. The Spaniards attacked and destroyed both the YAMASEE towns and Storage Town, a nearby settlement of Scots. Now, could these Scots have been swarthy Europeans? Possibly. I'ma show y'all. You know, there is a book out there too called The Black Slave Owners of South Carolina. It's out there, and I showed y'all in one of my old videos. So the YAMASEE relocated their settlements closer to Charlestown on the banks of the Ashpool and Combahee rivers. They returned to the area around Port Royal Sound in the 1690s. A 1707 act established the YAMASEE lands on the mainland in the upper part of Port Royal. Within this YAMASEE territory, the YAMASEE were settled in two distinct clusters. The upper YAMASEE towns, Potagiolo, Pocasubo, Hospa, Tomotali, and the Tolofina, were occupied primarily by the Gullah Guale, who have been part of the Spanish mission system on the Georgia coast. The lower YAMASEE towns included Altamaha, Oku or Okati or Ichisi or Chechnessy, and the U-Haul. These lower towns were formerly residents of interior Georgia, the Spanish province of Latama, who had sought refuge among the Guala missions following devastating slave raids by the Westo. Many of these YAMASEE towns have been excavated by archaeologists. Officials were murdered in the YAMASEE town of Potagiolo. The murders took South Carolinians completely by surprise, as the YAMASEE were thought to be one of the colony's closest Indian allies. Indeed, the murdered Englishmen had only been sent to Potagiolo in order to arrange talks with another Indian group, the Okeechobee Muskogeans, later Creeks. Now we went over in that other book, right, that the Creeks were of a darker skin complexion, a brown skin complexion, them different bands of Creeks and stuff like that. We went over that book. And if you guys aren't following, we're over here. Right. The Creeks, who were rumored to be planning attacks against South Carolina traders and settlers. These initial murders were quickly followed by major YAMASEE attacks on plantations around Port Royal near modern-day Beaufort, South Carolina. In these attacks, the YAMASEE managed to kill over 100 colonists and set the rest of the colonist population to flight. In the following weeks, news began to filter into Charleston that the English traders in virtually every southeastern Indian village had either been killed or chased off. Adding to the fears that the pan-Indian insult, news emerged that the Catawba and a small group of Cherokee had made raids on plantations north of Charleston and even managed to capture a South Carolina militia garrison. Facing this apparent invasion, colonists across South Carolina fled to Charleston, where the effects of the overcrowding, fear, and tension exacerbated by the summer heat took its toll on the physical and mental health of many residents. Now y'all see now we see There was multiple tribes involved in this fight. And we're seeing that now. We see the Catawba, we got the Cherokee, multiple tribes, right? Here we go, we got some more. The YAMASEE War included a small number of what might be called major military engagements, and these were confined to the first 3 months of the war. Afterward, hostilities were limited to YAMASEE and Muskogean raids on trading caverns and frontier skirmishes with South Carolina militia that continued sporadically for the next 2 years. Peace with the last of the hostile groups, the Lower Creeks officially ended the war in 1717. While rare, the major battles described below were nevertheless significant, for they included hundreds of combatants on each side and were fought on 2 separate fronts, north and south of Charleston. Furthermore, these battles were like microcosms of colonial landscape, defining relationships among the period's 3 major cultural groups: Europeans, Native Americans, and enslaved Africans. Indeed, historical accounts of these battles are clear that almost half of the Carolina militia force was comprised of enslaved Africans. So they're saying that the Carolina militia force were made up majority of enslaved Africans. But that's cap. And I'm going to show y'all why that's cap. Like I said, there's a whole book out there that talks about the black slave owners of South Carolina. And they were not African. A lot of them were not African. They were mulattoes. They were mulattoes. Some of these people were mulattoes. When he's speaking about some of these militiamen, enslaved Africans, they were mulattoes and swarthy Europeans, fresh in from Europe, fresh in off the boat, there on indentured contracts, looking to get out of their contracts, so they serving the man, and then later earning and getting some money themselves and enslaving the people of them land their damn selves. That's the truth. That is the truth, and y'all can go do the research. I got some of it here for y'all today. Don't worry, we're gonna go over it. Right, so there's another part of this right here, because if, like I said, these readings will be available in the membership. I ain't gonna go through this whole thing. If you really want to learn, tap in with the membership, stay in tune with us, and we're gonna be in tune. We're gonna be getting right. So look, where we gonna pick up at? All right. Let's find this next part. In 1663, King Charles of England granted 8 promoter politicians a patent for land to be set up as proprietary colony called Carolina. Granted a patent of land for them to be set up, right? A proprietary colony was different from royal colonies like Virginia, in that proprietary colonies were first and foremost commercial ventures that served to increase the fortunes of proprietors and colonists alike. The personal histories of some of the wealthiest men in South Carolina during the period suggest that one could amass a large fortune by combining the Indian trade for slaves and deer skins with planting. Indeed, the economic structure in which the profits from trading were used to capitalize the growth of plantations with both funds and slave labor was in large part responsible for the rise of the Carolina colony within the bludgeoning of the quote-unquote transatlantic slave trade or transatlantic economy. So basically, they were trading Indians, or even worse, they were putting Indians in indentured contracts, right? I mean, putting Indians in contracts and putting them in debt. And when the Indians had no way to pay, they had to sacrifice their deer skins and all of this stuff, or whatever the case may be. And that provoked them to fight. That provoked them to want to fight. There's more. There's a whole lot more. And we're going to get into it. Just give me some time, you guys. I want to find the right parts for you guys so that I don't give y'all no bull crap. I ain't trying to give y'all no bull crap. Right? The economic and strategic ambitions associated with the empire building naturally generated strife among the fragile colonial beachheads of England, Spain, and France, Whether they desired the position or not, by virtue of geography, South Carolina would be the English colonial vanguard against any southeastern invasion from Spanish or French forces. To prepare for this threat, the South Carolina proprietors implemented a proactive defense strategy that featured the use of allied Indian groups to create a buffer zone to protect the colony from the Spanish and French and their Indian allies. The buffer zone that was to protect the South Carolina needed to be the strongest to the south in order to check raids by the Spanish and their Indian allies. To secure this area, beginning in 1680s, colonial officials set about encouraging allied Indian groups to settle along the Savannah River with the construction of a trading post at Savannahtown. Sorry, you guys. Cuzzo throwing me off right now. Also during, I love you though, my boy. Also during this period, the Yamasees, who occupied the territory between St. Helena Island and the land along the Ashipu and Combahee rivers, were courted intensively. Thomas Narine, and the first Indian agent of South Carolina, boasted the success of this strategy, saying that all of the Indians within 700 miles of Charlestown had been made English subjects by drawing over to the colony's side or destroying. Wow. During his subjects' torture and eventual death at the outset of the Yamasee War, Narine would quietly, painfully learn that his boasting was premature. You see how I had to put body bag right there, because it's like it's saying it right there. Like, they had been made subjects. The Indians made subjects. They had been made slaves. Slaves, like my boy Sekou said, they were enslaved. Why? Because of the color of their brown skin. Yo, nah, this is crazy, nah. It is clear that the South Carolina architects of this strategy never intended the buffer zone of Indian allies to be a passive deterrent to their European rivals. From their earliest overtures to Indian groups, South Carolina officials intended to create an armed militia of Indians that could be persuaded to promote the colony's interests internally or abroad. The Tuscarora War, it's another one that we're going to get into that I'm going to have for y'all, is a good example of this strategy. The war consisted of two military expeditions in 1712 and 1713, led by South Carolinians along with assembled forces of Yamasee, Appalachee, Cherokee, and Catawba, numbering in the hundreds. These expeditions defeated the Tuscarora, which resulted in their forced immigration from North Carolina. So after being beat in 1717, 12 or 13 or whatever, the Tuscarora migrated from North Carolina, and I'm assuming that's probably why it began to be known as a Cherokee land. You get what I'm saying, or whatever? I don't know. That's something good worth looking up. Topic for another video. The period also witnessed the use of Indian allies, especially Yamasees, on a much larger scale, and major colonist-led Indian military forays against European rivals that whatever, I don't want to say that because that word is fake pause, resulted in the deaths and enslavement of thousands of Indians. These forays included Colonel James Moore's invasions of Spanish Florida as part of Queen Anne's War, first against St. Augustine in 1702 and later against the Appalachian missions in 1707. These operations, which resulted in the destruction of the Spanish allied Appalachian Indians, included 370 Yamasee Indians and 1,000 Muskogee-speaking Indians, respectively. So they was just turning everybody against each other. After this, when this war started to pop off and everything, I'm guessing they just got tired of it and was like, all right, we're going to unite this one time just to try to wipe these niggas off the land, because what they're doing is they're causing so much division, they're indebting us, and we ain't got nothing to survive off of, or whatever the case may be. Fuck it, we just about to fight. All right, let's get into it. Because y'all see there's a part right here that says, was there a cause for the war? Let's go into it, though. Indian slave trade. Here at the top. Indian slave trade, right? Until relatively recently, research regarding the trade in Indian slaves had been relegated to isolated anecdotes in the history and archaeology of the 17th and early 18th century Southeast. Historians William Ramsey and Alan Galley have done so much to quantify the scale of Indian slavery by consulting the colonial records of South Carolina. Ramsey sketched the demography of Indian slavery in South Carolina during the period. By the outbreak of the YAMASEE War in 1715, he found that approximately 25% of slaves held by South Carolinians were Indians. Ramsey pointed to a strong market force and influencing the scale of slave trade during the English contact period, arguing that the South Carolina's economy depended on slave labor, not only working South Carolina's plantation, but also for trade to other plantation colonies. He believed, wait, hold on. Before we even go into this part, let's read this paragraph. Galley's research furthered the argument that most Indian slaves sold in Charleston markets were later traded to other colonies, also out of the country, into the West Indies and stuff like that, because that was a major trade hub in that area. Major trade hub. And you know what? Just to give y'all some more clarity, let me do this. To show y'all where we at. This is where we at. Right? He asserted that the population estimated by Ramsey was but a small fraction of the total number of slaves taken during this period. Based on transport records following the major military campaigns described above and trader accounts, Galley estimated the total number of Indian slaves that were taken between 1670 and 1715 to be between 24,000 and 51,000 individuals. He believed, right? Listen to this part. He believed that a large percentage of the slave trade in the trade in Indian slaves was purposefully left undocumented in order to keep secret an important commodity that was regulated and taxed by the mother country when obtained from Africa. He believed that a large percentage of the trade in Indian slaves was purposely left undocumented. So when you see these numbers right here, that 24 and that 51, you got to think above that. Think bigger, because they was purposely left undocumented in order to keep secret. To keep a secret. Why y'all niggas keeping secrets like that for? Nah, we want to hear the truth. The truth will set us free. Man, blessings do it to the Most High, man. That's crazy, bro. The demand for slave labor in colonial plantation economies was thus a major determinant of the early 18th century trading system. But the supply side of the slavery system must also be considered. Most researchers agree that the taking of slaves by the southeastern Indians was a tradition significant geographic range in time depth. While early southeastern slave-taking tradition was an occasional practice whose purpose was to augment the ranks of diminished local populations or to obtain war captives, however, slave-taking in the 3 decades leading to the YAMASEE War became a profit-driven commercial venture. A single slave might fetch as much as 200 skins for an Indian captor. Therefore, taking even a few slaves in one raid could provide a hunter with more skins than he could usually procure in the entire hunting season. Told y'all they was doing this for skins. So they had these folks going against each other for skins so they could survive. Why? Because they was being indebted. And the only thing they can use to pay these debts was skins and furs and food and hunting and supplies and whatever. Historical accounts also indicate that English traders often incited Indian groups to conduct slave raids. What? English traders often incited Indian groups to conduct slave raids. Dr. Francis Lehoux, a missionary living near Charleston, expressed a distaste for this practice in his journal, writing, "It is reported that some of our inhabitants excite them, Indians, to make war amongst themselves to get slaves, which they give for European goods. And some white men living or trading among them do foment and increase that bloody inclination in order to get slaves." So at the end of the day, all of these slaves, who are they talking about? Indians. So they got Indians fighting Indians. They're exciting wars so that they could benefit from the slaves and the skins. Right? What that sound like, right? What that sound like, y'all? And if y'all smart and y'all paying attention to what happens today in the black community, what does that sound like? So when we thinking about generational trauma, where does it come from? How deeply is it rooted? The myth of normal, y'all. Garba Mate. Shout out Breaking the Black Barrier. Shout out Morals of Money. Gotta give us our flowers while we here, man. Because who knows, man? Who knows? We might end up forgetting who we are again, you know. Next, they might end up telling us that we're African, European, Australians that came from the bottom of the sea, living with crabs under the rock, or whatever the case may be. Whoever knows, man. I don't know. Lewu also provided a plausible explanation for Indian participation in slave raiding, stating that in some cases it became the only viable option for paying off astronomical debts accumulated with English traders. What did I tell y'all? What did I say? What did I say? What did I say? The plausible explanation for Indian participation in slave raiding, stating that in some cases it became the only viable option for paying off astronomical debts accumulated with English traders. While extending lines of credit was often necessary given the seasonal nature of deer hunting, in more than a few cases the European traders employed predatory schemes that resulted in the Indians amassing exorbitant debts. When is the last time y'all heard the word exorbitant? Exorbitant. Yeah, it's exorbitant. Unreasonably high, sky high, excessive, preposterous, inordinate, immoderate, inflated, monstrous, unwarranted, unconscionable, huge, enormous, outrageous, prohibitive. Just to give y'all a breakdown on what that damn word means. Like, yo, absorbent, bro. Not like a absorbent debts. The most extreme example of this situation was the YAMASEE, who by 1711 had accumulated a debt of 100,000 skins, roughly twice the annual average of all deerskin exports from South Carolina. God damn, we breaking the black barrier, bro. So Chief Sekou wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. He was not lying. We dropping facts, bro. They put us in debt and then forced us. That was the way to force us. So they put the crabs in the barrel. That's the crab in the barrel effect. The crab in the barrel effect. And that same shit still happens till this day. Damn. Crazy. Let's continue. Whether to fulfill desire or necessity, the promise of wealth attained through capturing slaves led to the widespread participation of Indian groups in South Carolina's military campaigns in Queen Anne's War, early during the 18th century. This new type of commercial slavery led to the meteoric rise and fall of so-called militaristic slaving societies, like the YAMASEE, whose sole focus, at least from the perspective of colonial records, was quote-unquote making war and controlling access to English trade. These heavily armed groups, which included most infamously the YAMASEE, but also the Westo, Yuchi, Chickasaw, Savannah Shawnee, were the major regional players in a European-backed interregional slave trading system that preyed upon Indian towns stretching from the Carolina and Georgia Piedmont across to the Appalachian Mountain and lower Mississippi Valley. So this is from Kentucky down to Mississippi, Louisiana, down there. So think about all those tribes. When we go through that tribal map, how we did in our previous episode. Think about all those tribes and all those people that were being put through slavery, right? Put through slavery. That's a lot of people. Like he said, they kept a secret, the true amount of Indian slaves. So just think about how many of our ancestors could have came from this form of slavery. Of course, it sounds crazy because they're doing it to each other, but they're being forced into it. And this is why stuff like the YAMASEE War broke out, because it's like, bro, we tired of it. Right? Was there a cause for the war? Until very recently, the history of years leading up to the YAMASEE War has been presented as a singular story. Originally put forth in the 1920s by the venerable historian Vernon W. Crane and the equally esteemed anthropologist John R. Swanton, this narrative presents a relatively straightforward picture of the YAMASEE War as a far-reaching revolt of the numerous southeastern tribes spurred on by indebtedness to and mistreatment at the hands of the Carolinian. This classic explanation has been challenged recently with a series of historical and ethno-historical works. The authors of these works argue that the establishment explanation for the YAMASEE War is overly simplistic. Right? In the place of this singular process, the cause of the war, these authors characterize the YAMASEE War as the outcome of a complex mix of strategies and events that were enacted and experienced differently by the various participants. Instead of lumping all Indian groups into the singular role of reactionaries against the English traders, the authors of these works explore the varied strategies pursued by Indian groups as they interacted with other Indian groups. To various extents, the authors of recent works agree that while some of the Indian participants were in collusion, the YAMASEE War was not a pan-Indian conspiracy carried out with the aid of a master plan. Instead, they hold that each group acted according to their own strategy and toward their own diplomatic goals. Abused by traders, mountain debts, and the fear of enslavement were important factors in some groups' decisions to join the war against South Carolina. What? Abuse by traders, mountain debts, and the fear of enslavement were important factors in some groups' decisions to join the war. So these people fought. They wanted to fight. They got up to fight because they was tired of it. They didn't want to go through it no more. Check this out. For Muskogean, Cherokee, and Chickasaw and Choctaw groups, there was no possibility of English settler encroachment during this period, and these groups were far too strong to fear an immediate invasion by English forces. With this in mind, Galley interprets the killing of English traders in these groups' towns as a diplomatic message sent to the Carolina officials. The gist of this message being English promises for a return were no longer acceptable. Alliance was no longer appropriate or possible. The Indians were announcing to the English the need to negotiate a new relationship. So, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and read this entire thing for you guys. If you want more on this, like I said, you guys could join the memberships that we gonna have coming real soon. You guys gonna see that stuff start to pop up more and more often. So if you want to go through readings and you want to go through books like this, y'all see up to 283 pages of this bad boy read, and 689 out of 689, small percentage of this book left. But we got so much, and there's many more books like this where they came from. So if you want to tap in, man, if you truly rock with us, definitely I advocate that you guys join our Copper Color community, our Breaking Back community, and tune in, bro. Tune in. Let's make a family out of this. Let's make babies out of this, man. So look, some more in this YAMASEE War. Despite its name, the YAMASEE War also involved the Cherokees, Creeks, and Choctaws in a far-ranging rebellion from the Savannah River to the Charleston. The YAMASEE War was a major 18th century conflict, as we know. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. The YAMASEE, despite its name, and like I said, you guys want more? Tap in. Despite his name, the YAMASEE War also involved the Cherokees, Creeks, and Choctaws in a far-ranging rebellion from the Savannah River to the Charleston. Just as Nareen was put to death, and other allied tribes such as the Creeks, Choctaws, Appalachians, Saras, Santees, and Waccamaws also executed their traitors, 90% of whom were killed by June 1715. Initial YAMASEE attacks along plantations near Port Royal killed 100 colonists. My boys was on demon time. And they was like, you know what? We're tired of this. They got up. And who said we don't fight? This is what happens when we stick together. So I ain't trying to, insinuate anything. You know what I mean? Let's keep the peace. But this is what happens when we come together. How many tribes we just counted? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Including the YAMASEEs. Now, if you don't know, Creeks and Choctaws were at war. Chickasaws and Choctaws were at war. Appalachians and Saras were at war. They was at war, but they came together for this specific reason, because they were tired of being forced to fight one another or being indebted, or they just didn't want to be slaves anymore. And they came together. White inhabitants fled the countryside for the relative safety of Charleston. Their colonists struggled to achieve a defense perimeter around the city. Charles Craven, the governor, utilized all white males and even armed black slaves for the colony's defense. Surrounding the southern colonies sent little or no assistance, although Massachusetts did send weapons to South Carolina. So when you see black slaves, like I said, keep in mind they were black slave owners in South Carolina. They didn't arm these black slaves. These black slaves armed themselves because they wanted more slaves. No, we are going to enslave y'all. Y'all can't be free. And this is where you get that from. The popular bourgeoisie, the black slave masters of South Carolina. Some of us may have that ancestry. Ain't no ducking it. It's there. If it's there, it's there. We're a long way from these things, but the trauma is still enroached on a lot of us. So we got to shake that shit off, and change. If it is in your family, change the direction, change the narrative, because what once was is no longer, and we can make a brighter future out of all of this stuff, man. Surrounding southern colonies sent little or no assistance. Massachusetts sent weapons, blah, blah, blah. The turning point in the conflict came at the battles of Port Royal and Salcatachi, where the YAMASEEs were defeated and driven south of the Savannah River. The YAMASEE allies, however, remained a potent force. One historian described this alliance as the greatest in the colonial American history, because it could have been destroyed. It could have destroyed the Carolinas and Virginia. So this link up, this click up, could have smoked the Carolina colonists and the Virginia colonists. So when you think about it, Bloods, Crips, GDs, BDs, sex monies, or whatever. I don't fucking know. YGs, hats, whatever. When they out there in the streets and they coming at each other, not remembering that all this is indebting them to the system. You get locked up, you indebted to the system. For those who don't know, you are indebted to the system. And then when you come home, you're forced to put yourself in a dog-eat-dog world because you didn't make the right decisions in the first fucking place. So now you in that dog-eat-dog world and you're forced to go get at your kin. The skin kinfolk, the man that looks like you. And you know how they say, not all skin folk is kinfolk, right? Well, now where we see this, where this term comes from. That mindset, how it puts us against each other. You know, you're left with nothing. You put back on this world with nothing. With the rest of the people who may have nothing. And now y'all all hungry. And the only thing y'all know is glah glah boom. Gang banging on bacon, like cousin them said. Like cousin Jiggy Man said. And it's just going to make you go at your neighbor. And the gang beef will continue. And now, it even makes me think. This gang beef stems deeper than gangs. This shit is tribal. This stuff is tribal. All of this stuff is tribal. It's weird, bro. You know, when you think about it. You know what I mean? But let's continue. Surrounding southern colonies sent little or no assistance. The turning point, blah, blah, blah. One historian described, blah, blah, blah. The alliance continued to attack Carolina settlements until 1716, when the Carolinians managed to convince the lower Cherokees to side with them against the Creeks. They convinced the lower Cherokees to side with them against the Creeks, launching a deadly war between these two groups that continued for the next 40 years. So that war between them two continued for longer than the YAMASEE War itself. That was 3 years. This shit was 40 years. What? Crazy, bro. Crazy, bro. You know what I mean? Now, I wanted to save this one for y'all, because we're going to run through this. Like I said, black slave owners of the South. And there's a book on this. And I also got some more facts on this in another book that I got that we going to bring to y'all in the next one when we go over the history of the Cherokee and the Tuscarora War, which I might make into 2 or 3 parts. But definitely got to learn about the Cherokees because they play a huge role into this whole scenario too, though. But let's just look at the list of the black slave owners we got. We got 1, Joseph E. Holloway. Anthony Johnson, the man they claim is an African, but I don't think so. Let's see if we can find him so I can show y'all. I don't think he's an African. I don't think he's an African. They say this man right here is an African from Angola. Look, so black Africans sold other black Africans as slaves all over the world. In America, free blacks owned over 10,000 black slaves. Why do we never hear about this in the media? In almost every state, including South Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Louisiana, free blacks owned as many as 10,000 slaves in 1850. That is no cap. That is no cap. But what also is no cap is that he's an African. This man is from Portugal. He is from Portugal. Swarthy European. And I got the facts on that for y'all. You know, I'm gonna give y'all that in a later one when we get into our Swarthy European segments, because I got this man's ancestry. I see who his family members are. I got the drop. Big facts. Big facts. That man is not an African. But yeah, let's go back to it. Anthony Johnson, Marie Therese Meteora, William Ellison, white-skinned black mass, that's not a person, Richard Holloway Sr. But, you know, I read this right here. So, like I said, I'm not going to give y'all this full thing, man. If you guys want more, just please, please, please tap in. That's what I want y'all to do. I want y'all to tap in. But let's look at this. The majority of black slave owners were members of the mulatto class. Just got to add the facts and a little bit of cap to that. Where's my water? The facts and a little bit of cap to that. And in some cases were the sons and daughters of white slave masters. Cap again. Many of the mulatto slave owners separated themselves from the masses of black people and attempted to establish a caste system based on color, wealth, and free status. Why? Because they came from an area in Europe that was already basing their society off of these rules and regulations. Frenchman education, an Englishman's education. No matter the color of the skin, that's what it was. That's what it was. And I'm going to give y'all some proof that there was a lot of black Europeans. Might do it at the end of this video just to give y'all a sneak peek. Just to give y'all a little son. But it's a lot of proof though. You feel me? But let's check it out, right? These mulattoes of the old free black elite did not attend church with the dark-skinned blacks of Charleston City. They not only formed congregations which excluded freedmen of dark complexion, but they only married among other mulattoes to keep the color in the family. Large numbers of free blacks owned black slaves in numbers disproportionate to their representation in society. According to the federal census of 1830, free blacks owned more than 10,000 slaves in Louisiana, Maryland, South Carolina, and Virginia, like we just saw. The majority of black slave owners lived in Louisiana and planted sugarcane. These people were Frenchmen. They were black Frenchmen. Deadass. Slaveholding among the mulatto class in South Carolina was widespread according to the first census of 1790, which revealed that 36 out of 102, or 35.2% of the free black heads of family held slaves in Charleston City. What? Banger. Because we showed y'all the 1790 census, and in that census, you got slaves and then free people of color. And those free people of color, we see, it's also black people. Brown skin, light skin, brown skin, dark skin, did not matter. Dodge that hijack when they say they didn't attend church with dark skinned people, because these slave owners were also dark skinned. May I remind y'all, also dark skinned. Definitely not from Angola. Right. By 1800, 1 out of every 3 free black recorded owned enslaved property. Between 1820 and 1840, the percentage of slaveholding heads of family ranged from 1721 to 77.7%. However, by 1850, the percentage fell to 42.3%. What we got, man? What we got? I'm telling y'all, this is fire. This is fire because they giving us numbers, they giving us facts and details, you know. Bunch of stuff to enjoy, right? There's a bunch of stuff to enjoy. So, according to the U.S. Census report in 1860, only a small minority of whites owned slaves. Out of a population of 27 million whites, only 8 million lived in the South. And out of this population, fewer than 385,000 owned slaves. In short, the total white population owned about 1.4, while the southern white population owned about 4.8 enslaved Africans, quote unquote, black people, quote unquote, indigenous folks. Like we just saw, they enslaving these Indians, right? They enslaving these Indians. On the other hand, the black population in 1860 was 4.5 million, with about 500,000 living in the South. Of the blacks residing in the South, 261,000 were not slaves. Of this number, 10,689 lived in New Orleans. In New Orleans, over 3,000 free blacks owned slaves, about 28% of the free black population in the city. And then look, we got this chart right here. From 1790, 49 slave owners, 277 slaves. To 1820, 206 slave owners, 1,030 slaves, and so forth and so forth. So if you got family from this area, New Orleans, that deep in the South and stuff like that, your family could either be Aboriginal, indigenous, or swarthy European slave owner. Sad to say, but face the facts, man. It's the family history. You gotta do what you gotta do. The following chart shows the free black slave owners and their slaves in Charleston, 1790 to 1860. In 1860, there were at least 6 African Americans in Louisiana who owned 65 or more slaves. The largest number, 152 slaves, were owned by the widow C. Richards and her son P.C. Richards, who ended up producing or leaving the lineage of the family of P.C. Richard and son, who owned a large sugarcane plantation. Another black slave magnate in Louisiana with over 100 slaves was Anton Dublasset, a sugar planter whose estate was valued at $264,000, and in North Carolina, 69 free blacks were slave owners. Why? These were swarthy Europeans. I have it in my family too, and the people in my family who swarthy European, they come from the French side. They came over here as indentured servants, but ended up getting them some Aboriginal slaves. I got the pictures. I seen the pictures. I got the facts and details, and I even showed y'all the Huguenot at the end of our last video. If you guys go check that out, that Huguenot from my family. The majority of urban black slave owners were women. In 1820, free black women represented 68% of heads of household in the North and 70% of slaveholding heads of colored households in the South. The large percentage of black women slave owners is explained by the manumissions by their white fathers or inheritance from their quote-unquote white fathers or husbands. Black women were the majority of slaves emancipated by white slaves owning men with whom they had sexual relations. 33% of all the recorded colonial manumissions were mulatto children, and 75% of all adult manumissions were females. Gotta dodge that mulatto hijack, because I got mulatto in my family too. And when you look at the husband and the wife, and when they're both classified as mulatto, they're both darker than me. Why are they mulatto? Because the male paternal line comes from swarthy European French Huguenot. The last name carries on. Des Loges to Deloach. That's what we got in that scenario. Right? Black women were the majority of slaves that we just see. Blah, blah, blah. The first black slave owner in the origins of slavery. Euro-Americans arrived in Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. And the first large group of Africans dodged that hijack arrived in 1619. Like my boy Kumeo say, dodge that hijack. Because when they talking about first group of large Africans, they're talking about Europeans being brought over on these boats that are being signed up as indentured servants. I got that. I'm telling y'all. You know what? This is why I dropped the donations in the bottom. You guys want more content? We got to get these books. I'm going to get all these books. So feel free to make a donation. You don't have to, but feel free to make a donation. The love is highly appreciated. The book I'm definitely going to get is that Black Slave Owners of South Carolina, because we got to see the truth. We're going to get into the swarthy European stuff and all of that, because that's going to back it up a little bit. But we got to see the truth. Right? But look. However, House of Burgess records show that Africans were already in the colony before 1619. John Rolfe provides us with an eyewitness account of this first group. About the last of August 1619 came a Dutch man of Warre that sold us 20 niggars. Among them, one was called Antonio from Angola. Who the f*** y'all know named Antonio from Angola? What kind of name does Antonio sound like? Antonio. Like, come on, bro. Come on. Like I said, I got the facts on him, but we're going to save that for a later video. Tap in, like, comment, subscribe so you can see more. Later, we find that Antonio becomes Anthony Johnson. Other listed was Angelo, a Negro woman, and John Pedro, a Negar, age 30. The census of 1624 to 25 showed that there were 23 Africans living in Jamestown. Dodge that, bro. Angelo, John Pedro. You can just hear it in the names. I know Africans, and their names is not Antonio, Angelo, or John Pedro. This is in plain sight. Right? Let's continue. Oh yeah. They were in Jamestown, Virginia, listed as servants. Okay? And not slaves. Why are they servants? They're coming over here in indentured servitude contracts. It's something that we're going to talk about. It's called the Inquisition and the conquest of Moorish Spain and Moorish Europe and the last ruler of Moorish Granada and what happened, the things that were going on. And we're going to even talk about that little thingy that America signed with the Moroccan government in the 1700s. We're going to get into that. Africans coming to Jamestown, indentured servants, between 1630 and 1640 could expect to be freed after serving their indented period of time, about 7 to 10 years for Africans and Indians. At this time, there was no system of perpetual servitude or slave for life, but the system was rapidly evolving. All right. Between 1640 and 1660, slavery was becoming a customary reality. In 1643, servants of Hugh Gwyn, a Dutchman called Victor, a Scotchman named James Gregory, and John Punch, a Negro, having run away from their master, were overtaken in Maryland and brought back to stand trial for the misbehavior. These three Negroes, a Dutchman, a Scotchman, and John Punch, a Negro, probably knew each other. That's why when they start trying to make it seem like these people were stupid and couldn't read and just as slaves and animals and all of that, you got to think about who they really talking about. You got to think about it. And this is how they disassociate us from history and tell us history and not the truth. We want the truth. This is the truth. Where we at? The verdict of the court would change the system of indentured servitude and set the system in transition to plantation slavery. The court ruled that the three servants shall receive punishment by whipping and have 30 stripes apiece. The court ordered that the Dutchman and the Scotchman should first serve out their times with their master according to their indentures and 1 whole year apiece after the time of their service is expired, and they shall be served the colony for 3 years. Then, being a Negro, shall serve his master or his assigns for the time of his natural life. This marks the first time that race and color becomes a factor in both the status of black and white indentured servants. In other words, the system is rapidly evolving to meet the new demand for cheap labor, and the race is slowly being used as the justification for the enslavement of people of dark skin, copper-colored skin, origins. Between 1640 and 1660, copper-colored people were going to court and suing for their freedom. Why? Why would Africans who are not from America come over here and know about the court cast lawsuit system here in America? They know what to do to sue for their freedom. How do they know? If they are not European and they're not Indian, they don't know nothing about a lawsuit system. So then where are they from? Who are these people? If they are adjusted to your system, it's 1640. Who else could have taught you? You're suing. It's 1640. You're suing for your freedom. These are not Africans. No. These are swarthy Europeans. Swarthy Europeans. Look, in 1644, Thomas Bushrod, a assignee of Colonel William Smith, sold a mulatto boy named Manuel as a slave forever. But in September 1644, the said servant was by the assembly adjudged no slave, and but 2 other as Christian servants do, and was freed in September 1665. In 1649, there were about 300 Africans in the colony, an increasing mulatto population. African and European indentured servants' offsprings were increasing and considered alarming in regards to the status of the mulatto. That is, a system was evolving, being based on either black or white. We gave y'all a little bit of this, man. Africans who entered Jamestown between 1620 and 1650 could expect to be freed after serving their indented time and given 50 to 250 acres of land, hogs, and cows, and seeds, and the right to import black and white indentured servants. All right, quick question for y'all, right? If these people were from Africa, right, how the hell would they already have experience of a landmass that's of a completely different climate of the African climate? The only climate similar to our land is in Europe. That's right across the Atlantic Ocean from North America. Now, I'm not saying there was no Africans there at all, but when they're talking about these black slave owners and these indentured servants serving their servitude and being given acres of land and then becoming plantation and slave owners themselves, they are talking about swarthy Europeans, the true large group of Africans, quote unquote, that were brought over here. And nothing differs us. We're all copper colored. We're all dark skinned. Those terms are new. European, African, American, they're new. They are not what all these people were once called. You understand? We're going to pick up on this one and the next one. I just wanted to give y'all that right there. You know, I'm happy that we got this one in, man. I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure y'all enjoyed it. And this is why I'm so deeply into this stuff. Because it is fucking interesting, bro. Super interesting. And if you're like me, I'm pretty sure you're going to always find some type of interest in it. So I want you guys, like I said, to like, comment, and subscribe, man. Tap in. And I want y'all to know that we're going to have that membership busting real soon. So if you guys want full readings, about this stuff, to get more information or just to be excited, or, you know, just because you want something to do, subscribe to the membership that we are going to be putting out. It'll be out real soon. It's King Willow, the Copper Color King, man. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's Breaking the Black Barrier. It's our first live. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And before we completely finalize this one, A1 dropped a new song today. I just want you guys to check this out. Visualizer, done by Copper Color Productions, published by All World Music Group. Let's check it out. And you guys let me know in the comments below how y'all feel about this one. This right here is a banger. I rock with it. Gang rock with it. Morals and Money rock with it. Copper Color Productions rock with it.
Sliding with my slums, yeah. Remember sliding with my slums, yeah. Remember sliding with my slums, yeah. Pick that bitch up out the spot, cause she wasn't acting right. Robbed that nigga for his pounds, cause he wasn't trapping right. Remember sliding with my slimes, yeah, we used to vamp all night. A1 on, you got hella guns. Used to carry pocket knives, play with us is on sight. Nigga, you gon' lose your life, so you better have your pipe, cause you know we don't fight. A3B, that shit for life. TYB, so hide your wife. Fucking niggas, bitches, sister G, yeah, just for stripes. A1, I don't got no time for them bitches. All I like, European, Puerto Rican, and I even do some white. But that's only for the night, cause I don't want no white. Most these hoes be moving sex. Ain't no love in this life. Seen a nigga girl, set that nigga up this for a pipe. Plus these niggas pocket watches, so I gotta keep it rockin'. If you play me, I'ma pop it. Bull 'em hot just like wasabi, so you know we cannot stop. They tried to run me, smoke his Nikes. Grr. He tried to run me, smoke his Nikes. He tried to run me, smoke his Nikes. He tried to run me.